So the thing about leads I want you guys to understand is it's not like, is a lead good or bad? It's just how good of a lead is it? So in its most basic form here, okay, on the slides, it's lead is a contact, okay? It's simply a contact. But more importantly, lead is information that can be leveraged to create a transaction. That's just a fancy term for it. But I want you guys to understand, the more information you got about somebody who wants to sell their house, the more leverage you're going to have when you have that conversation to build rapport, to get the price you want, all of the things, right? Does that make sense? You guys see where I'm coming from? Because if I'm talking to somebody and they're giving me the information I need, if I call a seller and like, yep, we want $300K. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Boom. Well, technically that's a lead, but is it as good as someone that I talked to who's like, yeah, I want $300,000, but the reality is, like, I want to move closer to my grandkids. I've been in Florida for 10 years, and, I'm really thinking about moving back to Nebraska, but we've been, on the fence of selling the house, but we're finally to the point where we want to sell it. But boom, I'm getting all this information. Like, which one is better? I have two leads. They both want $300,000, but the one that I have more information on, I could probably leverage. Well, how soon do you want to go see your grandkids? Like, is this something you guys want to do in the next 30 days? Like, what's the idea? I'm sure talking to your kids. I mean, do you have a son, a daughter? I can start leveraging this into my conversation to figure out, how do I create that win-win scenario? I need information to do so. Does that make sense? Because leads in general can be a massive gray area. But the more information you have about a specific lead, the better the lead is, because it gives you more leverage. Okay? And good leads equals more information. And if you get more information, that also implies motivation. Like, if I have someone telling me about their grandkids and they're moving to Nebraska and all that stuff, do you think they might be more motivated than someone who's like, 300,000 buy? Right? 100%. We say that there's 4 pillars to a good lead. Okay? Good lead. There's just 4. And we want to try to get as much as we possibly can of this on the first call. And I'll like grade my leads. This is something I do in my CRM that you guys can start considering doing as well. I'll grade my leads based on how much information that I have. Because who here has a 9-to-5 job? Or who here has other obligations that they have to do on a daily basis? Give me a heck yes or a yes in the chat. So many of us have other things that we do on a daily basis that would take us away from our real estate business, right? 100%. So I love it. Oh my, yes. So many obligations. Exactly. So the reality is, we don't have enough time to call everybody. Okay? We don't have enough time to prioritize the same person who said they wanted $300K over the person that's moving to Nebraska. So grading leads is important, and we do it off these 4 pillars. How much information did I have? Because I would rather spend my time calling leads of the people who give me more information than the ones who don't, right? And I got you guys will see where I'm coming from with that, right? Does that make sense? So the 4 pillars of a good lead. Number 1 is motivation. How in the world do we get motivation? Well, if you go to your script, all we're asking is how and why questions, right? So I never, like Cody was talking about, like, I've never bought a house from someone in pre-foreclosure because I had the best offer, right? Never once. I've never offered more money than the next person. I can't pay more than the next person. There's definitely an investor out there that has more money than me, that has more time than me, that has more resources than me. Then how do we break through when that's the case? Get good at building rapport and asking what and how questions. Well, how soon did you want to move to Nebraska? What's the process been like up to this point? Would you trying to sell the house here in Florida? Like, how has that been? Have you thought about working with an agent? Like, I'm going to ask leading questions to get to the root of the real pain here. Like, what's really going on? But I got to get the motivation. I do that by asking open-ended questions. And I remember not knocking on doors and talking to people in pre-foreclosure, and so many of them would just be completely shut off to even talking to me because they're getting bombarded with calls, bombarded with text messages, all the things. And I say, look, I'm here because I think I can help, not to buy your house, right? I remember getting people all the way to the point of like me telling them, like, oh, well, you could, if you wanted, like, I can't tell you to file bankruptcy, but you could, and it was not the foreclosure. Or you could file for a loan modification and all these different things. And they'd be like, okay, well, do you charge a consulting fee or how does this work? I'm like, no, I only get paid if I buy the house. But if you don't want to sell the house, I have no business. if I could help someone save them from foreclosure, I'm going to do that every single time. And yeah, I may not buy the house, but guess what? I put that in my piggy bank of emotional like income, right? Because guess what? That same person, I remember this so vividly. There was a guy named Hunter, and it was here in Phoenix, and I went to his house, and I had a door knocking team at the time, and the guy's like, Matt, I got this really great lead. He wants to sell his house subject to, let's go do it. And I went over there, and I was talking to Hunter, and like I see his sons ran out into the living room, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really, you guys are literally about to lose a house in 2 weeks. And I was talking to him about like, all right, well, what do you guys need to make this happen? You don't really have much equity here. In fact, you're $30,000 in arrears. You know, I don't even know how much money I can give you to buy this house. I might can give you a couple grand, but what's going to happen to your kids? Like they're going to have to get a new school. Like literally the only way they were getting to school is they were walking to school, right? It was about 100 yards away from the school. So like, where are they going to move? They don't have enough money to go pay for first and last month rent. They're going to have to live with someone else. The Hunter didn't even have a car. Like, how was he going to take his kids to school? How was his wife? Like, how are they going to do this? And in my mind, I'm like, look, I could definitely buy this house, and it's going to make a lot of sense to me to buy it. And sure, as an investor, cool, I'll go make my money. But it wasn't the right situation for Hunter. It wasn't the right situation for his family. So I was like, well, look, it seems to me that you guys should really try to keep this house because I don't know how all this other stuff is going to work. Consider filing bankruptcy. I know you're going to have to deal with that for the next 5 to 7 years, but if you're not planning on buying anything else, it'll at least save you from foreclosure. Consider doing it. Like, I can't like nudge you and go down there and do it with you, but if you go do that, it will actually stop the auction. And if that's an option, then do that. And he was like, holy crap, that's exactly what we need to do. That's exactly what I want to do. That makes a lot of sense. The next day, he goes down, he files the bankruptcy. It stops the auction. He stays in the house, right? I didn't get paid to do that, but it helped him. And guess what happened? Like, I wish I still had the conversation here on my phone. A year later, the same guy calls me back. And he's like, hey, Matt, I don't know if you remember me, but you helped me like save my house from foreclosure. Just want to let you know, I got a car now. I got a job. I'm making good money. And I think I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But like, he was like, we're ready to sell the house now. And we're fine with doing the subject to offer. We paid our arrears. If you still want it, like I'd love to sell to you first. And I was like, for sure, let's do it. And I went over there and we got the deal. It was a year later, but it was the right thing to do, right? So as an investors, we're not here to take advantage of anybody. As an investor, we're not just looking out for ourselves. There's real people on the other line. And I promise you, if you can approach this business like that, okay? If you can approach this as I am here to solve problems, whether I get paid or not, let's remove ourselves from the end result and let's just try to help in the moment. And if we approach it like that, guys, the funny thing is, God, whatever you believe in, will make sure you're taken care of too. You will never have to worry about money if you're always focusing on solving problems. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That's the move, guys. Motivation is the name of the game. Number 2 is condition, right? It'd be nice to have the condition. It'd be nice if they told you it's 3-bed, 2-bath, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you want to get as much as you possibly can. Number 3 is the timeline. Ideally, like what Cody was saying, we're working with someone who's ready to sell in the next 30 days. You might be working with someone who wants to sell in 60, might be working in 90, whatever. But we would like to get that timeline because it also implies motivation. But the reality is, guys, whether I get a price or not, the price isn't going to dictate if I get the deal. The timeline most of the time isn't either. The most important thing you can get on the phone is the motivation, okay? Or if you're in person, getting the motivation. And sometimes you might just be dealing with people where your best solution is not good for them and you can help them another way. And that's one great way to disarm someone on the phone. Hey, look, I'm here because I think I can help. Hey, I would love to buy your house, but if we're not a good fit, like I don't even know if we're a good fit. But if I can maybe point you in the right direction, I have a ton of resources. Look, and even if I'm not the right fit to buy the house, I'm here because I want to help you. And I know so many investors just do not do that, and that's the reason why they struggle for deals. It's the reason why they struggle making money. It's the reason why they will never be full-time in real estate. Look, it doesn't get lost on me. I am so stinking grateful that this gets to be my life. Because just in 2019, this was not my life. Right? I kept telling myself I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 25. It was so naive. And I just kept checking my bank account. It's like negative $12, negative $15. I'm like, one day I'm going to make this thing happen. But like, it can happen so fast, guys, when you decide that this is what you want to do, and you say, look, I am going to make this work. Come hell or high water, this is going to happen. So it doesn't get lost on me that this gets to be my life. I get to do real estate full time, going from reading Cody's ebook on a Stairmaster to being here in front of you guys today on a challenge. Like, it's like, pinch me, but I'm not special. I'm not anything crazy. Anyone, I swear to you, anyone can do this if you just can talk to people and just be a human being. And that's the best part about this business. And that's the reason why I thrive, because I love talking to people.